So let's go back to early April 2007. I was almost 16 and walking home from school. Life was great. I'd received an A on a paper that I'd been stressing about. I'd spent my lunch outside with friends enjoying the gorgeous spring weather, and I'd been voted in as president of one of my school's clubs. But as I walked home that day, my internal dialogue wasn't registering any of that. Instead, my brain was focused on how I would never be good enough, how I was broken, how no one would ever want me. 4 years previously, I'd been sexually assaulted by my stepfather. I was a victim then and was still a victim living with an emotionally abusive parent. My life had felt like nothing but pain, and I labeled myself a victim, doomed to be used and abused by those around me. I suffered in silence about my severe anxiety and depression. All I could think about were those labels. How I would never escape the shame and how desperately I wanted to experience joy. I wanted to feel strong and I wanted to feel whole. As I walked down the busy main street that day, I found myself moving closer and closer to the edge of the road, thinking about how with one perfectly timed step, all my pain could be gone. This wasn't the first time that I'd had these thoughts, and if not for what happened next, I doubt it would have been the last. For years, walking to and from school, I would stare at each car as it passed me, thinking, is this the car? Is it finally time to be free? That day, though, instead of stepping into the road, I walked into a small, very quiet cemetery, and I began to cry, begging for someone to save me, pleading for a way to escape, wondering why people had treated me this way. What had I done wrong? What had I done to deserve this? Sitting amongst the markers, tears streaming down my face, I began to remember something that the detective who'd been assigned to my case had told me. As the trial approached, he warned me that the rate of conviction in this type of crime wasn't very high, but he told me, Erin, conviction or not, this person has to live for the rest of their life knowing what kind of monster they are, knowing what they've done to you. And there is no punishment the court can give worse than that. And as I sat there recalling his words, I realized he was absolutely right, because I had been living that punishment, haunted by what others had done to me. As I mulled his words over and over, I began to consider, why was I the one living every day with the label of victim? Why was I the one tortured by the shame of what he had done? That was the moment that my perspective started to change. That was the moment that saved my life. A few short days later, on my 16th birthday, I made the decision to trust in myself, to trust in my strength, and I moved out on my own. I have faced many trials and a lot of adversity in the 11 years since that day. But thanks to the change that sparked that moment in the cemetery, I've been able to not carry the negativity of those moments forward. I've been able to find success and, most importantly, happiness in my career, in my education, and my personal life. Without shifting the labels that I gave to myself, I don't think that I would be here in front of you all today. And I know that without a doubt, I absolutely would not be the successful, happy, and generally positive person that I am. The labels we accept as part of our personality often become a self-fulfilling prophecy. They trap us in our grief, in our shame, and in stigma that we shouldn't be forced to bear in the first place. I have cast off the labels that were holding me back and replaced them with new descriptors that provide me with a reservoir of strength. Use the power of labels to find your inner warrior. Realize that your label doesn't have to be a negative. Letting go of these negatives has drastically changed my life, and this change has not only allowed me to face adversity head on, but it's changed the way I face other challenges in life as well. You may never face adversity in the way that I have, or perhaps you've already faced far worse. But we've all failed. We all will fail. Letting go of labels has allowed me to overcome these kinds of failures so much easier. Imagine you're a new student here at the college. You get your first assignment back, and oh man, you bombed it. It is a complete and utter failure. In that moment, you start to wonder if maybe you aren't cut out for college. Maybe this isn't the place for you. And you start to question everything. You wear that moment, that failure, as a marker of your personality. Is it even worth trying on your next assignment because you failed so terribly on your first? This can snowball and snowball until you find yourself failing all your assignments and all your classes. Or maybe you go the other way and you take that one failure and you work incredibly hard, and for the rest of the semester you find success after success. But you're worried and stressed and anxious all the time, stuck in that negative space because you're still holding on to that one failure. Learn from your mistakes, but realize you are not them. You are what you choose to do about them. You are how you handle those situations. You are not the things that others do to you, and you are not the things that happen externally for which you have no control. Don't define yourself as a victim the way that I did. Don't trap yourself in that negative space. So my challenge to you is the next time you face adversity, be it a failed assignment, a troubled relationship, a health crisis, or something else entirely, put aside those negative labels. Build your own reservoir of strength. Label yourself with the words that truly describe who you are for surviving those experiences. Words like strong, brave, courageous, and most importantly, resilient. Thank you.